Yes, is the witness here, Mr. Ramasipili?
As the court pleases, my Lord, may I confirm the following. That we have consulted with the witness that we intended to call thoroughly yesterday, and it was a fruitful exercise. However, have you considered the issues that we wanted to raise with her? It is our decision from all of us on the left, the defense witness, that the testimony of that witness will no longer be required for our purpose of the defense of all the accused, but in particular Mr. Ntanzi and Mr. Mngube. We are no longer calling that witness, Madam.
He was at the peak of his career. Who did not like that?
Is this just...
I'll say it was a hit. Where is the mastermind?
Hello, members of the Court of Public Opinion. Welcome back to the Great Awakening Media. I am your host, Mrs. Independent, aka I am not a lawyer. Guys, I have not been well. My voice was gone. It just came back, and I thought, you know what? I wanted to do this video, so this is the perfect time to do. No matter how my voice sound, I'll try to make it more audible. Now, today, like I've said, is it just me, or is my Lord's face looking a little bit swollen on the camera? Look at it. Look at this. Clearly, the judge came prepared with some incredible thick skin for all the courtroom drama this week. And to my amazing members of the Court of Public Opinion, I just want to pause and say a massive thank you. We have officially hit 4,900 subscribers. 4.9 subscribers, and we're incredibly close to that 5K milestone. Your engagement, insight, and dedication to the truth means the world to me. I couldn't do this deep dive journey without you. So back to the business of the day. Today we are dissecting a massive pivot, or should I say a U-turn, in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. The defense has officially dropped retired SAPS warrant officer Amanda Steenkamp, the facial composite expert responsible for drawing the controversial identity kit of accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi. And before we dissect, I have 2 clips that I will be playing for you, one towards the end. So please don't skip the ads, don't drop anytime soon. Please watch till the end so that you can be able to bring this puzzle pieces together. Okay. Why would a fruitful consultation lead to a sudden courtroom exit? To understand this, we have to look past the surface noise, right? We need to look at what official SAPS guidelines says about facial composites. Look back at the Steenkamp own explosive past utterances to the Citizen newspaper and confront the dark rumors swirling around her booked accommodation shenanigans with the police officers. Let's unpack this. But before then, let's listen to to Advocate Ramasipili explaining on how this identity kit of Ntanzi came about. Let's take a listen to that.
My purpose for this exercise really is this. If you look at the people that were in the house, that is those that they gave the description of the persons that were involved in the commission of this offense, i.e. Kelly Khumalo, Zandile Khumalo, Dumelo Madala, Longe Twala, and Makhumalo. All of those people, according to the affidavit of Warrant Officer Steenkamp, they could not describe the second suspect. And we know that here in court, that second suspect was attributed to be accused number 2, Bongani Sandiso Ntanzi. You see that? From what I've read, that the people that were in the house could not describe accused number 2, according to this affidavit.
My Lord, can I say in response to that, first of all, I did not dispose any affidavit, my Lord, in relation to this content.
Yes.
Yes.
So now, as we have heard on the clip, that people who were in the house, 5 of them, they couldn't give a description of the intruder 2, of which he is attributed to be accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi. They couldn't give the description according to Amanda Steenkamp's affidavit, right? And I'm going to play you a clip where Gininda went to speak to Makaleni, and taking his statement, Makaleni gave description of Ntanzi. After talking to Makaleni, he then went to Amanda Steenkamp, gave Amanda Steenkamp Ntanzi's ID, and asked Amanda Steenkamp to alter that ID copy, to put a dress on and to put a hoodie on, just to see what Makaleni said meshes Ntanzi. So now I'm going to give you perspective on SAP's identikit procedure. I just did a little bit of research, and this is what I found out. Before we go to the clip, listen to this first.
The Guardian page that was used, there are 3 images. The first on the left is the image that is of the image on the left in Exhibit J, and the one in the middle is the actual photo of an extract from accused number 2's ID. Okay. And then I think the last image is the one where it was now superimposed or altered using a hoodie.
Correct, my lord.
Do you have it in front of you?
I think let me just confirm, my lord. I have something like that, but it's just that the wording is written differently. But I do have something to this effect, similar to what you have, but I think it's the writing that is slightly different.
Yeah, because this one is an enlarged of this page, and it says this suspect was standing outside the gate, and the descriptors are the same as in the pages that I've read.
Yes, I'm not sure if... I just don't see the way that you've seen, but the picture, yes, there is a picture resembling what I was shown, my lord.
Yes, like I'm saying, this exercise is going to be futile if it's not being there, so that there's no repetition when I ask you to comment on it. I was just placing it on record so that when it's placed there, I've already placed it on record. So I'm going to request that also this one will be done after lunch. I'll ask Nalele Kodi to scan it for us so that it can be built. I can ask from this whether or not we're going to build this. What was the necessity of having this second identification altered from DB to this other one now with a control image of his identification document used?
So my lord, there was no intention to alter, it was to compare. So that is the right context. The alteration It's insofar as what was provided to warrant officer Steenkamp, and the altering she's talking about is what we provided to her to put the hoodie and the dreadlocks as is described by Mr. Makaleni in order for her expertise. As I said, my lord, the purpose was to see if she can say photo B or the sample that we gave her corresponds with the identikit that was taken on the 29th of October 2014. That was the purpose, to say we are an expert. You dealt with this identikit on the 29th of October 2014. Here's the picture which does not have a dreadlocks of a person of interest. Can you then alter this picture that we're sending and add the hoodie and the dreadlocks and see if you can match the two? That was the purpose of this exercise, but not to alter the original identikit of 2014, because the comparison was being done in relation to that original identikit, my lord. In essence, my lord, was to try and see if we can link conclusively accused to, as per the photo that comes from his ID, with the identikit that was drawn on the 29th of October 2014. That was the purpose. In also including if, for example, the expert says no, there's no such in terms of her expertise, my lord.
Where was accused number two's identification document taken for it to be supplied to Ms. Steenkamp?
It was taken by the arresting officers. As I said, when they arrested him on the said date, my lord, they did let me know. So it was electronically communicated as Warrant Officer Steenkamp was sitting in the western, not the western, the Eastern Cape, East London, sorry, in East London, my lord.
And other than Makaleni, and whom we've established now that he's not the person that was in the house, is there any other person that made a statement to the effect that the second intruder wearing a hoodie also had dreadlocks, because the description of dreadlocks from the people in the house only related to the first intruder?
That is correct. All the people in the house relates to the first intruder with the dreadlocks. That's okay. That's what it says. I agree with you.
Yes, but my question is this. Other than Makaleni, that we know that he was not in the house, are there any other witnesses that describe the person that they saw running wearing a hoodie, having a dreadlocks hairstyle?
My lord, I may speak under correction, but I seem to recall that the statement we dealt with before tea time, often Tabi saying, or the record, maybe saying something to that effect, but I'm not sure, my lord. All I can say with certainty is that the people who were in the house only describe the first intruder with dreadlocks, and they don't say the second one had dreadlocks. Had dreadlocks and a hoodie. That's what I can say with certainty. Insofar as to whether there are other witnesses outside, one will have to be have an opportunity to go through all the witness statements and then give a certain answer, so that I don't seem to be saying something that contradicts the document.
So like I have said to you, I have researched SAPS procedures, forensic artist role, and how identikits are typically created in South Africa. While a full internal SAPS manual are not publicly available in details, here is what I have found. So now, to understand why the defense dropped her, we first have to understand the rule book Steenkamp had to fly by. Official SAPS forensic science laboratory guidelines for facial composite are incredibly strict. They state that an identikit must be drawn solely from the untainted and contaminated, if there's such a word, uncontaminated and immediate memory of eyewitness. The guidelines strictly forbid a compilation artist from using existing suspects' photographs to influence a sketch. So using an existing photograph of a suspect or a person of interest, like Gininda just explained, it is forbidden. Amanda Steenkamp was not supposed to have done that. He was not supposed to have used Ntanzi's ID to reconstruct an identikit. He used that and put the dreadlocks on and the hoodie. And now, if you listen carefully, Gininda says it was just to see if there's a perfect match and if conclusively the identikit that Steenkamp did, putting dress and the hoodie would match what Makeleni gave, the description that Makeleni gave of a second intruder. And remember, like Advocate Ramsipila reminded him that, remember, everyone in the house, they couldn't give a description of intruder 2, and everyone in the house said the first intruder had dreadlocks, not the second one. So Makaleni, only person who was outside, who was just passing by, said the second intruder had dreadlocks and gave that description of the, how tall he was, the gold, the tattoos. Remember that? Yes. But now, according to SAPS, forensics science laboratory guidelines for facial composite, the sketcher is strictly forbidden from using existing suspect photograph to influence a sketch. Why? They say it causes verbal overshadowing and it completely destroys the psychological integrity of the identification process. If an investigator hands a sketch artist an ID photo and says, draw a hoodie on this, it is a flagrant breach of SAPS protocol. It turns a forensic tool into a manufactured piece of evidence. Now, listen, go back, rewind, and listen to what I have just said. So, in plain English, they're saying a verbal overshadowing. It means it contaminates the witness memory. Like plain English, verbal overshadowing means contaminating the witness memory. It is like accidentally saving a bad edit over your original photo. The real memory of the intruder gets completely hijacked and replaced by the ID photo Gininda allegedly handed over to Amanda Steenkamp. It completely destroys the psychological integrity of identification process. Okay. Now, as we have looked at the guidelines attributing directly to SAPS guidelines, here are 3 distinct technical reasons why that fruitful consultation led to her being dropped. So 1, she has become redundant. During the consultation, Amanda Steenkamp may have confirmed to the defense that the guidelines protocols were breached. But if the defense realized they had already logged this admission into the court recording through cross-examination of Gininda and Mamfundis, you had the first clips that I have inserted. It was Mamfundis the first, and she agreed to that. People in the house mentioned only first intruder as the person who has dreadlocks, and they couldn't give any other description of accused too. And Gininda as well agreed to that is only Makaleni, So calling Amanda Steenkamp to this, you're just calling her, it just becomes redundant. And in trial law, once you have proven the protocol was broken, you stop talking. Number 2, what they have realized is Amanda Steenkamp is a retired professional. So she might admit that the process was flawed, but under cross-examination, by the state, she would feel compelled to defend her career integrity. She might argue that despite the ID photo, her final sketch still relied on Makaleni's independent description. So the defense couldn't risk her defending the state narrative on the stand. 3. It's the fruit of the poisonous tree. The defense may have realized that exposing the breach of SAPS guideline is a legal argument best saved for final submission. So by not putting her on the stand, the state is denied the chance to re-examine her and fix the damage already done to the identikit credibility. Now, let's talk about the utterances that she has made during her interview with a Citizen newspaper. Right? So to get the full picture, we have to look at who Amanda Steenkamp is out of the courtroom back in 2020. She gave an explosive interview to Citizen newspaper. She openly stated that when she interviewed the people in the house at Vosloorus back in 2014, including Kelly Khumalo, she felt something was incredibly fishy. Her exact words were, those people's version in that house differed. They knew what happened there, and it felt like they lied to me. Now, this means Steenkamp has long held public belief that people in the house were hiding something. If she holds that view, she is an incredible, volatile witness for both sides. I have done 2 videos about this, about the interview and the extract of the previous clip where Kininda is being cross-examined. It's another video that I did. So I am going to leave the link, both links on the description box for you to go through it when you have time to listen to the full context of those 2 videos so that you can make an informed narrative about what's going on. So lastly, we're going to talk about Amahemhem. We're going to talk about Amahemhem that brings, the dark cloud currently hanging over this development. Whispers and rumors have emerged alleging that while she was booked at her accommodation waiting to testify, Steenkamp was seen holding meetings with active police officers. Okay. So these are unverified rumors circulating among trial observers, claiming that around that time of the consultation, Amanda Steenkamp was seen allegedly or had contact with police officers at the place where she was booked to stay. Now, I want to put this disclaimer. This remains rumors, no official confirmation, no court records or statements we've seen verifying the details. They could be logistical, protective, or coincidental. However, in a case full of police credibility questions, such claims fuel speculation about possible influence, clarification, pressure, or sabotage. So we treat this carefully. It's part of the public charter, but not a proven fact. I think members of the Court of Public Opinion, here we should understand the key rule with regard to facial composite. Avoid contamination or suggestion. Showing a photo of a specific suspect or person of interest or accused to, like in this case, before or during creation can make the identikit unreliable in court. Everything must be properly documented for transparency. So the This process is meant to produce a fair likeness, not a steered image. Violation can lead to successful defense challenges or suggestive identification. So in this case, I think the defense wanted to probe whether Steenkamp, who did identikit, followed these guidelines or if external input like Gininda influenced it. So her testimony could have clarified or exposed deviation. Now, members of the Court of Public Opinion, this is all I have for you. Okay. I would like to hear from the legal minds in our community. Let's get into it. Do you think the defense dropped Steenkamp because they already exposed the identikit flaws, or did those alleged hotel visits convince them she had been compromised by the state? Let's talk in the comment section below. Your analytical theory always bring the best perspective to the light. If you appreciate this deep dive into the raw strategy behind the courtroom drama, hit that like button, make sure you are subscribed, and share this video with anyone tracking proceedings. Thank you for watching The Great Awakening Media, where we look past the noise, we connect the dots to find the truth. I'll see you in the next analysis. Remember not to skip the ads. Until the next time, bye.